So first of all, we just have to look at what are humans as a species. So animals, all animals in the wild have species-specific nutrition. They have an evolutionary niche that they all evolved to have, and that's going to be their optimal diet, what they evolved on, okay? So you have to think in that context. Now, what are humans? All the big studies, all the best data shows that we actually are carnivores as a species. That's the kind of animal that we are. Now, can we live on other things? Can we survive on them? Yes. Does that mean that that's optimal? No. We came from an herbivorous background. We have some of those traits left over. We have some people that, had, the agricultural revolution and has some defenses, but again, we're talking optimal. So what is the optimal nutrition for human beings? Why does this matter? Well, it matters because plants and other sorts of food, what we call it food, but food is species specific. So the food to a giraffe is different than the food to a gorilla. That's different than the food to a zebra. That's different than the food to, a woolly mammoth and a dolphin and so forth. So you need to eat what your species eats, okay? You can ask any zookeeper, they'll tell you that, if you feed an animal something that, doesn't eat in the wild, something that didn't evolve on, it gets very sick. But what does it get sick with? It gets obesity, heart disease, liver disease, diabetes, cancer, arthritis, autoimmune disorders, okay? Dogs and cats, known carnivores, and yet we give them grain and plant-based kibble. And they get sick. They get the same things. We get the same things. Veterinarians are now calling these human diseases, and they're saying that animals, like pets, household pets, are the amount of human diseases that they're seeing is rapidly increasing. It's gone dramatically up. In the 1970s in America, for instance, the average life expectancy of a golden retriever was 17 years. Now it's 9 years. Okay, that's not from aggressive breeding. It was already a pure breed. Okay, that's from feeding it the wrong thing and it dies young. All right, that's happening to humans as well. What veterinarians are calling human diseases, we actually used to call Western diseases, because we only saw these in Western cultures that had agriculture. These were the diseases of the West. Okay, you look this up, in history books. It's all over the place, and that's because we didn't see this in native populations, right? So in Native Americans and Native Australians and so forth, these people lived as predominantly pure carnivores. They might know which plants to eat when and if they were starving or to use medicinally, but what they ate when they could get it and predominantly ate was a pure meat diet. This is well documented. You can go back hundreds and hundreds of years and see this, okay? They didn't get the diseases of the West, except when they ate the food of the West. When Native Americans and Native Australians eat a Western diet, they are 4 times as likely to get obesity, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all the rest, because they didn't have exposure to agricultural revolution like other people did. And so they don't have as many protections. Now, the people that had the agricultural revolution, 8,000 years ago or so, they have some protections, but they still get these diseases. I remember hearing this fact about the, being 4 times more likely to get all these diseases when I was a young child. And I remember thinking to myself, well, doesn't that mean that the food is causing the disease? Because if they don't eat the food, they don't get the disease. And we eat the food and we get the disease just at a lower rate, and what is it that they are eating that we're not? What are we eating that they're not? Well, I didn't know it at the time, but the answer to that is they were eating a pure carnivore diet. They were omitting all these species inappropriate foods. Now, you look at other studies, there's quite a lot of studies. There's a stable isotope study, which looked at the bones of early humans and Neanderthals, and were able to look at certain isotopes and see what they ate. And we're able to compare this to other animals of the day. And they found that humans were not only carnivores, but they were hypercarnivores. We had a higher carnivore rating than lions and hyenas alive at the same time in the same area. So this is a very, very well-established fact. There's also a study out of Israel that showed that people were hyper carnivores going back at least 2 million years, 2.5 million years. This is because likely the ice ages. Our ancestors about 8 million years ago were herbivorous. They split off because they started eating meat. They started eating more and more meat, more and more meat. They started having more human adaptations. Our teeth got smaller, our jaws got smaller because we're eating softer and softer food. We're not chewing on sticks all day like a gorilla. And then our brains got bigger because we couldn't take things down with our mouth. We couldn't take things down with our claws because we don't kill things with our mouth and our claws. That's why we don't look like lions. But we did develop our brains. We had to develop our brains because we didn't have the claws, we didn't have the teeth. And so we figured out tactics and tools, and we figured out how to take down a woolly mammoth and take it apart with tools and with our brains. And that's why we live in houses and lions don't.